So today's Cardinal lesson, we're doing it by case study. And so we've created a hypothetical here of a couple, both age 65, just recently retired, and they've got some pretty significant 401k and some savings that they've already paid taxes on. Their home's paid for, but this $1 million was 1.3 million at the beginning of 2022. And so this couple is both kind of freaking out because they're just retired and they converted a lot of this to cash, and they were getting ready to start their Social Security now at 65, which is a little before their full retirement age, and just live off of the extra. And so we're going to show an alternate plan. I want to bring Tom on to just talk a little bit about why we're doing this video.
Yeah, so one of the biggest concerns that we get from lots of clients is the fear of running out of money. They've been working their whole life, they're retiring, we don't want to run out of money. And so what we've done in this show is really laid out a plan to produce income that they can't outlive, and we'll go through it in the video, but also that could be tax-free in the future. So that's really the goal of today's show.
Okay, so we have really 5 boxes that are all critical to this whole concept. And, the first box just shows the particulars on the people. This box is an alternative to taking Social Security now. This box is going to go over where we're going to keep the money that's just sitting there as a balance earning interest, and it's going to grow to a point. So this is the liquid money. And then this box is going to go over some annuities that are going to create an income after 70. And then the final box is really going to talk about what life is going to look like for these people after 70, which is having a Social Security check, which is larger, which grows tax-free, or most very close to tax-free, and then having an additional check that is very significant that is tax-free as well, and that they can't outlive. I mean, that's just tying back to what Tom said, is the biggest concern that we have with people, especially when they start spending down their savings, however significant it is, they're going to worry about running out of money if one of them lives quite a while or both of them do. So this is going to address that at a lot of different levels. The other thing I wanted to point out is this is just an extreme example where we are trying to create this tax-free income for life. And so it's possible to eliminate certain parts of the plan if they're not what you want to do. And it's also to reduce parts of the plan so that you don't make it as much. So we don't have to, eat the whole apple. We can just take some bites of it. So let's just jump right in. As the first thing we wanted to deal with is Joe and Sue planning to take their Social Security now. I mean, their situation is Joe made a significant income most of his career, and he has the biggest Social Security check. Sue worked for a while before they had kids, and since then she didn't really work much, and because of that, she is going to file as the spouse, and so she can't start getting her Social Security check till Joe files for his, and she's going to base her amount on his filing. So if they took it now, it's $5,100 a month right now in 2023. If they delayed till 70, it's $6,600 a month in today's dollars. It'll obviously, when they get there, if they choose to delay, it's going to be more than $6,600 a month because of the inflation increases over 5 years. But in any case, they were all ready to take this and then just pull their supplement or their additional money out of these two balances randomly. And that was concerning to them, but that was the de facto plan. And we asked them, how much do you need to live? And, they just threw out what a lot of people throw out at us. Well, we need $100,000 a year. And then I asked them, I said, is this before tax or after tax? And they both looked at each other and they said, well, we're not really sure, which told me it was just kind of a thrown out number. And so I'm going to generally think that that's before tax. And in retirement, things look much differently tax-wise, and you're able to keep a lot more of your money, whether we're before Social Security or after. Okay, so the first box here is we would like them to wait and not take this now, to wait till 70 and take the 6,600 a month plus inflation. And so what we're going to do and what we're recommending is that they would take 362,000 of their million and put it into this 5-year period certain annuity that's going to send them a check every month for 6,600 bucks. So that's 79,200 a year. Their taxes, because they live in Texas, they moved to Texas to retire, they got no state income tax. So the federal tax, just a rough estimate, 5,400 bucks a year. So that's going to leave them 74,000 after taxes of this money to live off of. So they're just getting their Social Security check from themselves for the first 5 years. Okay. Now, so that's going to reduce their balance down to by a pretty significant amount right away. But we do this with a lot of people to create the income from the Social Security check they were going to draw, effectively them paying themselves out of their IRA. Okay. Now, I want to bring Tom on, and I just want to hear what Tom has to say about the delaying of Social Security and just around that issue.
Yeah, I mean, this is another common question we get is should we take it now? Should we delay it? And so when we have clients with the funds, the money to be able to afford to delay it, so that it's not that they need the money, they could live off their own money. Delaying Social Security is one of the best, sources of money that you have in retirement. Between full retirement age and age 70, it grows at a guaranteed 8% every year. So you can view that as an 8% return on your money. There's nothing else out there that grows at 8%. And then furthermore, once you start the income, it grows with inflation, the cost of living adjustments. And so a lot of times people get focused on looking at how can I get the most from a pure dollar standpoint out of Social Security. When we approach this decision, we really want to look at it from a long-term standpoint. If you live well into your 80s or 90s, this will be the best decision you ever made. If you die soon, you've benefited your surviving spouse if you were the higher earner, because now they have a higher check that they get to keep. And if you both die early, yes, you could have gotten more out of Social Security, but at the end of the day, you're both are, unfortunately, you're both are gone, right? So you're not going to really know you made a bad decision. And really, we want to plan for that, covering that long life and not necessarily the short life. But again, I think this is an area that people don't always approach it the most, analytically, as it's more emotional. It's like, I paid into the system. I want my money. I'm going to get it now. And if you're there, we can show you the reasons why delaying, but ultimately we could adjust this plan accordingly. But when we have a blank slate, we're almost always recommending delay Social Security.
Okay, so if both spouses, if both Joe and Sue met an early demise, there's going to be plenty of money coming back to them, even if they delayed their Social Security. I mean, going back to the children or paid out in the estate. And frankly, what Tom was saying is that most of the people that we talk to, they're telling us their biggest concern is them having enough income to live for the rest of their life, however long that is, or stated from the negative, they're worried about running out of money. And a lot of them tell us, look, this money is for us first. And then when we're gone, we want it to go to our kids and our grandkids. But that's a second and third priority. And if Joe and Sue met an early demise, there's going to be plenty of money at any point coming to the next generation. The cash value in this, the cash value in this, and the remainder of the payments of this. So in any case, we think it's good for people in this situation to delay their Social Security, providing we can replace the income. Now, that doesn't mean every client does what we think is good, because we're here to support you. Is if you really want to take your Social Security, then you could go ahead and take it And then we might still take a look at supplementing that with something like this, just with a smaller amount. So you got a check, well, you really got several checks coming in every month, but it'd be a smaller check out of this and a smaller amount of money going in. Okay. So next box down here is, what is this box? Well, we find that people that have too much cash, too much low risk investments, which they took their money out of the market because they wanted to stop the bleeding. And so that was another thing concerning them. They start drawing these down, they're not earning much. So what we use typically in today's day and time, especially, is these multi-year guaranteed annuities. We can get them 5.1% on balances of $100,000 or more, locked in for 5 years. It isn't going to change. And so by the time we take this $1 million of 401k, we put 362,000 of it in here, and we put 500,000 in it in what we're going to prepare for after 70. That leaves 137,000 bucks that we're going to put at 5.1% and just leave it there and don't touch it till 70, or maybe past 70, but it'll have 175 grand plus a little bit in there. So that'll just be growth going on behind the scenes. Then we're going to put 100 grand of the 200 grand in another 5-year MYGA that's earning 5.1%. We're going to do that because we can get it 10% of it any year that we want. And so that's where we're going to go for some of the money to pay taxes. If they needed to buy something, I mean, we're really going to go to this high yield savings account, and we're going to recommend that they take 100 grand and that they shop that and continuously shop it so they can get 3 or 4%. At least at today's interest rates. And a lot of people have money sitting at 0.5% or 1% because it's just kind of sitting there. So, but the beauty of this money is it's just liquid. If they need to buy something, it's going to stop them from getting off their income plan. We see this with a lot of retirees that are living off of their 401k balance or their IRA. They go all of a sudden make a big withdrawal to purchase something, and they throw their income and their tax plan just out the water. And so we're going to have some money that they can access, some other money that they're getting higher interest that they can access part of it, just so they've got money sitting there in something that they can go get and spend and use. Okay. So then $500,000, or literally half of their 401k, what we're going to do is we're going to put it in these income annuities. And I want to bring Tom on, and I really want Tom to talk about these annuities in general, and I'll kind of jump in and go over some of the specifics.
Yeah, so I think we're going to do that by going to the show notes, and those you can find those in the link below the video. They're also on our website, but I'll bring those up now. We're going to take a look at. I'll show you the different boxes where they sit in the show notes. We're not going to go into great detail, but I'm going to use those to sort of support the box on the board so we can get a little more details here. But again, here are the show notes. So we have this is that box in the upper right corner, the one that produces the income just right away. We're really replacing the Social Security. We've done it with Penn Mutual. Just currently, they have really high payout rates. These are subject to change. So, depending on when you're watching this, it could be a different company. It could be different payout rates. So, this is something that could change. The next one is the American National. These are the MYGAs. This is the one that pays that fixed interest rate. Again, these can change as well. But really, we want to spend a little bit of time in the company we're using in the show is Midland National. And this is where we're looking at the income annuities. And so the idea behind these annuities is you put the money there, you delay it, and it creates an income in the future. And it's a known number. We can look at the page we're looking at now and see what those income are at the different ages. And it's similar to Social Security. The longer you wait to take it, the higher the income is. We'll get back to the tax planning piece of this in a second. What we have illustrated is putting $100,000 in. Again, we've split this up into 5 $100,000 purchases, so they're equal amounts. And the highlighted ones over here, let me see if I can make this a little bigger. is what the income would be at the different ages. So starting at 70 would be $10,000 a year guaranteed. And then once you start the income, that lasts for the rest of both the couple's life. As long as either one is alive, they're getting a check for $10,000 a year. You go to 75, it's 12,000, 80 is 13, 80, or some, you can look at the chart here, but 70, it's actually 73 is 12,000, 76 is 13, and 80 is 15,000. So the point being, the longer you wait, the higher the check is. We've highlighted the guaranteed page just to illustrate that these are guaranteed numbers. These are not dependent on the growth of the contract. This could have, or how it's shown here is this has no growth, is 0% annual effective growth, which isn't that realistic. But even at a 0% growth rate, the income lasts as long as you live. Again, you can study these proposals if you want. The next page down does show some projected growth, and really what that would impact, doesn't impact the income at all, but it does impact the account value, which would be ultimately, if you both were to die soon, the death benefit going to your kids.
Yeah, so there's multiple reasons why we went to 5 annuities. Number one is it's completely up to you when you turn the income on. So, and we're just thinking that if we put 5 of these set up at 65, and then we're thinking by the time you reach 70, you're saying, I'm ready for a check. Okay. I mean, I just have this money sitting there. So we thought we'd just start one of them, but you probably don't want to start all of them because this has an inflation benefit of waiting. So what I did, and yellowed out in the thing that Tom was doing, is we just came up with starting one of them at 70 for $10,150, starting another one at 73, and now your total would be $22,000, starting another one at 76, and your income would be, total income would be 35,960, and then delaying 2 of them to 79 and then turning them on for 66,360.
I'm going to point out real quick too, those numbers on the board are the aggregate, the total income you're getting from the 5 contracts. If you delay one till 70, the one contract's not producing 66. It's all 5 added together in that order is what gets to the 66,000.
Yeah. And so the 66 would be that if you did one at 70, one at 73, one at 76, and then 2 at 79, if you add up all 5 of those numbers that Tom had on the thing, it equals 66,360. Now, as an alternative, if you started at 70 and you said, I'm ready to turn all 5 of them on right now at 70, I want the money, you're going to get $50,750 a year. That's not going to change, and it's for the rest of both of your lives. So if one of you dies at 80 and the other one lives to 97, there's going to be checks coming in for 50,750 for all those years all the way to 97. So this is an income you can't outlive, but I haven't gone over the tax benefit yet. I mean, the other reason we broke this into 5 contracts is you can't convert with most companies part of an annuity from a traditional IRA to a Roth IRA. So we broke it up in 5 contracts so that over 5 years, at age 65, you convert 100,000, 66, 100,000, 67, and so on. So by the time you reach 70, you've done 5 conversions over 5 years of 100,000 each. And this is all going to be a Roth before you take any income out of it. Now, the tax cost of that is going to be, I know I had that on there, 18,000 a year. And again, that's an estimated. Remember, the people live in Texas, and that's on top of the income that they're getting out of this. So, but that's still 18%. And it'll be a little higher in the later years, but like 68 or 69, 67. But the point being that it's going to cost you about $90,000 to $100,000 in taxes to turn this from pre-tax into post-tax. But if you do all of that, once you reach age 70, this couple in the example, they're going to have $6,600 a month from Social Security, and it's going to be more than 6,600 because they're going to have 5 years of inflation, but we'll just run with the 6,600. And then their other income is going to be $50,750. We're just showing for the tax thing, converting, taking the income for all 5 of them right when they take Social Security. So they're not going to pay any taxes on the Roth income, the 50 grand, and they're going to pay almost no taxes or almost no taxes or no taxes at all on their Social Security because they don't have any other income. So we're into a 6-figure tax-free income that's going to go on for life. How do you beat that? Now, this is an extreme example, but all this stuff up here is guaranteed other than the tax estimates. Okay, that's not guaranteed, or whatever they're going to pay on the high yield savings. But all the stuff coming out of the annuities is guaranteed, and it's guaranteed for the rest of your life. And there's still residuals in all of this. If these people were to meet an early demise, they would, there'd be all kinds of residual cash value in this, the cash values in this, and even if they died before this thing had paid out, it's going to pay that out to their beneficiaries. So it's not like when you're getting into all these annuities, you're parting with your principal, that it's not going to be there if both of you were gone. But the more likely scenario is one of you is going to die and the other one's going to live on. And that's what you need the annuities for, the insurance. So I want to bring Tom back on and for some final comments.
Yeah, I mean, I think you made a good point earlier. This plan isn't for everybody. I mean, everyone's plan looks a little different. It depends on what your goals are. But if you have a goal of producing an income and just, not having to worry about market performance, not having to worry about future tax rates, this plan works wonderfully. The other area that I see a lot of times this is beneficial is when we have maybe a couple where one spouse is very sophisticated with the investments. They manage it themselves. They do well. They kind of understand it all. And the other spouse has no idea what's going on. Setting up some version of this plan is a wonderful way to ensure that that other spouse who's not involved in the investments is taken care of, where they're not thrown into a situation where they're having to figure all this out right at the same time that their loved one has just passed away. And so getting things set up to produce an income that's just guaranteed, it comes in monthly, that they don't have to worry about going and selling stocks, selling bonds. What are the tax implications of doing that? How do I create the income I need right at the time where they're dealing with a loss? Is just, it makes life a lot easier. And the other thing that on the Roth conversion piece of it is when we have couples paying taxes at joint tax rates, the tax rates right now are very low. When the first spouse passes away, your tax rates get doubled. I mean, you go to start filing single rates the year after they have died, and tax rates go up significantly. And so the Roth having tax-free money come in is just very nice. I mean, it just, we see it in our practice. And I can say we've never had a complaint saying, why am I not paying more taxes? So that's just some benefit of the Roth.
Okay, so now we want to talk in the holistic planning vein. Is we've got the 7 worries that we do in our financial planning, and we address those in every video. So, Social Security is the first worry, and that's obviously addressed here. Long-term care, we didn't talk about that much, but these $500,000 annuities actually have a 2 times multiplier benefit if 2 of the 6 ADLs are needed. So this can actually turn into, it's not actually long-term care insurance, but it's kind of long-term care insurance where it's going to pay you extra money, you and your spouse, if either one of you needs care, significant extra money. 401k and IRA is you need a plan, you need a tax plan, you need a survivor plan, you need a beneficiary, you need a minimum distribution plan, all of that kind of stuff. We've obviously addressed that here. You need an income plan. This whole show is about delivering income to people. And then taxes. and this is taxes and Roth conversions to the extreme, which you're paying more taxes from 65 to 69 to assure that you have the ability for tax-free or zero tax from 70 on, when you don't know how long the on part is. So I want to bring Tom back on. I'm Hans Scheil.
And I'm Tom Griffith.
And we thank you very much for listening.
Thank you.